Would you be open to having a coach that was kind of out of shape?
Do I have years of experience and knowledge in how to lose weight and gain muscle? Abso-freaking-lutely I do.
I think all of us are making a giant mistake thinking that we know anything about obesity without being obese ourselves.
We don't know how far this individual has come. They may find a lot of benefit from the tips, the habits from someone like her than maybe learning everything from me.
A lot of females, they try to get, if they're going to try to get information from other women that like look fit, they're just going to get information from women that don't eat.
Would you learn to try to gain strength from someone who is not very strong?
That, and then would you learn from a skinny chef?
Yo.
Skinny chef can't be trusted. We already know that.
No.
Although I think Joey Diaz is making better decisions these days.
He is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does jujitsu, all that good stuff.
That's pretty awesome.
Everybody take a shot. Take a shot.
Nah, I love it too, bro. I love it too.
It's 1:30 p.m. somewhere. Take a shot.
So my Instagram was bought out by a media company.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. I'm glad you started there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw some comments like that.
So you saw them too. Okay.
Yeah. People are like, oh, this is, bought out by, I was like, I don't know. No, I just, I find some dumb stuff on there and post it up. And I don't know, it seemed like it has a lot of views and stuff like that. So I'm like, might as well just keep leaning into it.
It's stuff you're interested in. You're just sharing the stuff you find funny.
Yeah.
Or useful.
Yeah, it's just like when you send it to one of us or you send it to a friend and you're laughing, you're like, well, I'm just going to send it to everybody.
The best is when you like try to grill your friend about, did you see, you sent something to them and then you're mad at them if they didn't see it, right? You're like, I sent it to you.
I get more angry if
I lose track of who sends me what.
Somebody else sends
it. If somebody sends it to me, no, not so much that, because whatever, stuff happens. But if they send me something that's like way old and they're super hyped about it, one, I'm like, well, dude, where you been? But then two, I'm like, fuck, what am I doing with my life where I've heard of this thing or I've saw it so long ago that they're barely catching on? It's like, damn, maybe they're getting ahead of me.
It's in a bad place, man. If you recognize every single thing that's sent your way, that's how you've had too much internet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's been interesting because, like I said, it's just stuff that I'm interested in, stuff that I think is funny. I don't endorse any of it or whatever. But it's weird because, like, the idea of sharing the person's information or tagging the person, rather,
giving credit,
is a little bit of a weird balance because I don't necessarily want to be associated with like all of that person's like ideologies and beliefs and so on. And how do I know that that person's not like a batshit crazy person? They might have just had like a funny clip, and I don't have the time to like, scour through to see like what this person's all about all the time.
You share one thing and then find out they're a woman beater.
Yeah, you find out all kinds of crappy stuff about the person that I wouldn't be too pumped about that because I'm just trying to do it like more for fun than anything. But where appropriate, I'm trying to make sure I do give the creators credit. There was a girl that I posted about on TikTok and on my Instagram, and that thing just went buck wild.
What's the heavier girl?
20 million views
on TikTok.
Was it the heavier girl that was lifting?
Well, that went pretty good too, but no, this is a rock climber.
Oh, pull that up.
Yeah, pull it up. Maybe we can mention her name here because unfortunately I didn't mention her name in the first go of it, which is unfortunate. But anyway, it had 20 million views on TikTok and I think like a few million on Instagram. But it just gets to be sketchy. It gets to be scary. She's got unbelievable strength, and I don't know how you have this kind of mobility too. Watch the mobility of this woman. It's like unbelievable.
Yes.
And where is she? Like, what is going on here?
I like all the comments of people saying, like, dude, the cameraman's just floating.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how is that happening?
The cameraman's fine. He's hanging on by one hand. Like,
and Nsima's enjoying the sounds?
Yeah.
Is that why it went viral? This whole time?
Partially.
This is impressive.
But yeah, listen to the noise coming up, though. This gets wild.
No.
That's real.
Yeah. Holy crap.
That's some real shit. And then watch this mobility. This is insane. Look at that. How close she was to that.
Whoa, she made it.
Yeah.
It made me sick when I saw it. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, and some of these, you know, like I kind of always felt that social media is like a lot of fun, you know, and then there's cool inspiration, and sometimes you just see certain things that you may gravitate towards for all kinds of reasons. Like watching that girl climb that rock, I was like, this just seems so scary. I don't have any of this capability. Like I like strength and everything, but that type of strength I don't have. So I really admire it and think it's cool. And then I found this video to be pretty awesome from this guy too. And this guy's actually a fan, and he reached out and he said that, you know, every time he thinks about how hard his run is, you know, how tough his run is getting and stuff, he thinks about like people like myself that made a 180 and went from doing other things to running. And so he posted this, which I thought was pretty cool.
Finished up a 22-mile long run. It is my longest run, and it was the last long run of this marathon training block. And
hell yeah,
just all the emotions are really hitting me now. It's been 15 months of training for this, 15 months of dedication and hard work. And I don't talk about this. I've never even mentioned it on here, and this is really personal, but I've done it with really no support from my own parents. They just don't get it. They don't understand it. My marathon's 30 minutes away from their house next month, and they're not even coming.
Yo.
So that's whatever. But I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for the 13-year-old me who was really fat and overweight and who got picked on a lot. Really didn't like himself. I'm doing this for the 20-year-old me who was over 315 pounds and fought bulimia for years on and off because he hated himself so much. Yeah, men can have eating disorders too. And I know there's other guys out there that keep it to themselves, but guys, it's okay to talk about it. There are other guys out there that have eating disorders and who have fought eating disorders in their past. You're not alone. I'm doing this for me, damn it. So just finished up a
22-mile run, dog.
Yeah.
Yo, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty big dude too. When you're carrying around extra weight, it's just that much harder. And then, you know, a lot of times when we're doing these things and you're getting involved in lifting or these various things that we get into, it starts out for like one reason, but then starts out for another reason, and then another reason. You peel back the layers of the onion, it's usually because you got hurt somewhere. It's usually because like there's something, and that's when we had Jeremy Miller on the other day, and I kind of made a joke, and it was kind of inappropriate, but I said, like, bro, where's your dad? You know, and he's like, good question. Because I kind of recognize, like, man, you can't go that deep unless something crazy happened.
Yeah.
You know, and he did mention that, you know, his childhood was not the most ideal, the most optimal. And so you kind of see that a lot. You see that a lot with bodybuilders. You see a lot in fitness in general, where people are really just kind of going all in. But what I like about that message too from that guy right there is the fact that it's tough, man. Running is very difficult. Everyone knows how difficult it is, but it's really easy to use the excuse of I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm too short, I'm too heavy, I'm too slow, I'm not good at this, and it's really easy to give up. And he said he's been training for this marathon for like 15 months. So I'm imagining that this will be transformative, like in the rest of this guy's life. Even if he doesn't continue to always run, maybe he learns to find a happy medium and he runs a handful of miles a couple times a week, and that feels good for him. But it is that much more impressive when somebody's a little bigger, because it's not easy to lug the extra weight around. You're real susceptible to injuries and all kinds of stuff like that.
What I appreciate about someone like him is the things that he's going through to be able to get to a point where he's running 22 miles. Like that was like 22. I can't imagine. I've never done something like that before, right?
Don't try it.
Don't trust me. I'm not going to. But all the hurdles that he had to get through, it's different versus a person who, let's say they are a great runner, but they're just much lighter. You know, and not to take away from people who are extremely good runners and they're lighter, etc., but they don't need to deal with some of the things that a heavier individual needs to deal with as they're learning how to run. And the guy still has he's in better shape but he still has, he has a good amount of weight on him, and he's running those types of distances. So people who are who want to learn to run or want to get better at running are probably much better off, or could probably find a few things from someone like him or someone heavy like you, because of all the adjustments that you need to make running like that, versus just a really good runner. Yeah. Not taking away from the experience of a really good runner, but they but they won't have to deal with those types of things, I think that's important. Why are you laughing?
Because you made it funny.
I think that's an important point, is that, maybe this guy might be able to teach you how to start running, maybe easier than the next person, just because he has a few extra obstacles in the way. And maybe it's just a little bit more difficult for him. And I think we also have a video of the trainer, the female trainer, who's a bigger woman. And I think when I think about, a lot of the fitness influencers, a lot of times people are in really good shape. And we did a podcast where we talked about James Smith, and James Smith talked about how he thinks a lot of people in fitness are selected. Like it selects you after the fact. Hey, bro, you should be a trainer. Yeah. Because you're already in pretty good shape, because you're playing this sport and you're lifting and you're already into it. That's a little bit of my story. That's a little bit of your story. That's how we dug our heels into fitness. We were already fit and we were already gravitated towards it kind of through sport. But maybe the person to learn from, not that you can't learn from everybody, but maybe someone to learn from is someone that has had a different set of circumstances and maybe had a struggle. And I wrote in this post, I said, you're going to learn how to rehab yourself off of drugs from someone that's never done them before, or would you rather communicate with someone that maybe wrecked their life a couple times and they had to kind of, dig down deep? I'm sure you can learn from both. There could be somebody that has a 8-step program or 12-step program, and they say, look, man, this is bad news and this is what you want to do. But for me personally, I find it way more interesting to learn from the guy who was like, yeah, man, I had it all. I had a wife, I had kids, I had my dream house, I had this, and I pissed it all away, and I got too involved in this. The next thing you know, I was hooked on drugs, lost this, lost that. And then I, over the years, learned how to get off of that, and now I'm doing well again. So I think sometimes the person with the bigger story, sometimes there's just different things to learn from. And again, you can learn from anybody. So we should keep our eyes open to be able to learn from anybody. But I thought this video was interesting.
Don't play it yet. I want to pose a question to you guys. If you guys, would you be open to having a coach that was kind of out of shape? Would you be open to having them coach you as far as your fitness is concerned? I'm just curious about that. But before we play the video, I do want to read a few comments on this post because it's interesting. One from our buddy, Atlas Power Shrugged. How do you have experience and knowledge on how to lose weight and end up like this? Don't come at me with genetics. She's never had her DNA tested. I'm seeing a troubling rise of fitness coaches in larger bodies, I think is the term we're supposed to use these days. It is pure arrogance, refusing to admit that their knowledge about diet is wrong. Even their very bodies are objective proof that it is, leading others astray. If you know something worth knowing about diet, you will be lean unless you're intentionally overeating for a performance goal. That is okay. So he has
some fair points in there.
He has some fair points in there. But the thing is we don't know how far this individual has come. You know,
maybe they already lost 100 pounds.
Maybe they already lost 100 pounds. And the individual that loses 100 pounds and they're still on their way down, they have a very different route and different troubles to getting in shape than someone like me or someone like you. Like they're having to like deal with different things as far as like the way they deal with food that other people that are in their shoes can probably relate to better than someone like myself. So I imagine someone like her, and we haven't even watched this video yet, but someone like her, there's probably a lot of heavier women that maybe deal with a lot of the same things and they're on their journey too. They might find a lot of benefit from the tips, the habits from someone like her who's still doing this and who has maybe lost a lot of weight and deals with different things than maybe learning everything from me or you. Because sometimes people who are in really good shape, sometimes they look at things in two binary A or B. Mm-hmm. They don't think outside or, oh, maybe how is this affecting her emotionally, etc. They don't always think about that. Right. So I understand what he's saying, But a coach like this can be helpful to another segment of the population.
Right. And I think, if we, Atlas Shrugged is a lifter, right? So if there's a lifter that, squats 315 pounds, that doesn't maybe sound like a crazy amount of weight. But what if that person, was 125 pounds when they graduated high school and they were, they just had to work at it differently. A lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times that leads a lot of people to search for more and more answers. And a lot of times, much like you can make the argument that sometimes a natural athlete, sometimes a guy that is naturally doing it and not taking performance-enhancing drugs, maybe they had to study it differently. Like why do natural people go with natural people? Like natural coaches go with natural athletes, and natural athletes they gravitate towards the guy that they think is natural.
I worked with Alberto Nunez.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it makes a lot of sense because there's just a whole entire different set of circumstances working with somebody that is going to go a different route. And I think when it comes to fitness, fitness is one thing aside, but when it comes to like obesity, I think all of us are making a giant mistake thinking that we know anything about obesity without being obese ourselves. I'm not saying that you have to do that in order to like learn about it, but I don't know what it's like to be Black. I don't know what it's like to be Mexican. I only know what I know through my own experiences, but I don't know what it's like to be obese. I was very heavy, but I wasn't a typical person that is dealing with obesity. I was never like the fat kid in the classroom. I never got made fun of that way. I never got singled out. I'm none of that. I have no, why am I going to sit here and pretend that I know about it? The only thing I know about it is from communicating with some friends about it and communicating with my mother about it, communicating with people like Russell, who we're going to have on the show coming up soon. That's all that I know. I can only gather that information, but I don't know what it really feels like. So I don't know what that person deals with. Like for you and I, we might be able to say, well, just don't buy it. Just don't buy the stuff. Just don't bring it in the house. Like you'll be good. Every day, wake up and hit the Stairmaster, and like you can give people like some advice and say like, this is how I did it, or this. But for that other person, the circumstances just might feel that much more difficult. Think about the thing that's really difficult for you to do. Whatever it is, there's something that's really difficult for you to do. Whatever that thing is, that is probably how some of these people feel with their food and getting their life together when it comes to food choices and exercise.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to go back to something Nsima you said about like, well, we don't know how far they've come. And I'm not saying like I am a coach or I put out like fitness advice or anything, but if somebody were to walk in here and like, how do I get jacked? They might not even look at me, but I'm going to pull up a still image and it's going to trip you guys out. Let me pull it up over here. So that was me in 2016. So that's not me as a teenager. That's me as like a 27-year-old adult. Mm-hmm. I was skinny AF. But like looking at me now, it's like, how far have I come? Like a really freaking long way. But if somebody were to look at me and be like, oh, well, that guy's still skinny. Like he's not going to have good information. It's like, well, shit, dude, you don't know my past. So just like what Nsima was saying with this coach that we're about to watch, we don't know how far she's come. So it would be silly to disregard everything she has to say. Let me pull it up here.
That's a good picture.
I used to think I was jacked in that shirt too because it was like a small and it like fit kind of snug.
Dude, how great is that? I remember like, I got pictures of me like with sleeveless shirts and tank tops and stuff. And I'm like, man, I thought I was so jacked, dude. Yeah. And you can't see nothing.
Yeah.
At fitness coach, yes. Am I still working on losing fat? Yes. Can I kick most people's butt in the gym? Most definitely. Do I have years of experience and knowledge on how to lose weight and gain muscle? Abso-freaking-lutely I do. And when I get to my goal weight, y'all better watch out because I'm going to be the fastest and strongest chick you've ever seen. Am I a fat fitness coach?
Can we just admire how well that 315 is moving, though?
Dude.
Well, why'd you laugh like that?
No, because yes, that's the first thing I noticed was like, oh my God, like
like little bounce of the boobs too. I ain't gonna lie.
Someone said,
"Hey, looks great to me. Good form."
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Hey, they're great. Hey, remember the Chappelle skit? Those are A1 New York boobs.
You have great New York boobs. Yeah.
But seriously, like, dude, she's moving that with no effort. That's super fucking impressive.
And then also what she said, she was like, when I hit my goal weight, like she's not done.
Yeah.
She's still going.
Well, and also, that was just like worded so intelligently. She said when she hits her goal weight, she's not like when I get skinny. You know, she said when I hit my goal weight. So who knows what her goal weight is? And also, you know, I don't think this doesn't look like a real obese person. I have no idea like what her body weight is or anything like that. It looks like she's heavy, but as she's saying, she's like, I'm fucking working on it.
The way that she's moving that load, she definitely has some fucking muscle on her.
Yeah, for sure. No, you can't move that kind of weight without gaining some muscle mass and stuff like that. And so she clearly knows how to like market herself. I thought it was a really well executed chunk of information. But you know, on the other side of it, I do understand. You know, if I'm trying to get fit, I'm trying to get in shape. You might think that it might make more sense, but let's, you know, shift gears a little bit over into like, rather than just, we're always so like male dominant. If you think about like females have they're in a really weird position, really weird spot, because a lot of females, they try to get, if they're going to try to get information from other women that like look fit, they're just going to get information from women that don't eat, in my opinion. Because there's a lot of women that, I mean, look at most of the celebrities. Most of the celebrity women, some of them are smoking hot and everything, but a lot of them they just don't eat a whole bunch, and they do like fucking yoga and they do
Pilates.
Like like what they do, not that what they do doesn't mean anything, but they probably have always been that way. They probably have always been gorgeous, you know, since like, you know, I don't know. Go back and find a picture of some of these people when they were like little kids. They probably looked beautiful, you know, just like the most beautiful, like blue eyes, and probably just had perfect hair. And as they got older, like, and there is a certain, you do have to, I don't know, do things to stay in shape and do things. And maybe they played sports and stuff. I'm not saying like they didn't work for any of it. But when you look at like female role models, how often are they jacked? How often do they have some meat on their bones? How often do they, you know, most of the time they're just
Natalie Portman.
Most of the time they're just skinny.
I had, and I still have such a huge crush on Natalie Portman, bro.
Yeah, but like, no, agreed. But also, yeah, she's always been super small and skinny. But then she talks about like how like a vegan diet or something like that has been like a crucial part in
100%
getting in shape for Thor and this and that. And it's like, well, man, oh man, yeah, you're right, Mark.
I mean, maybe she learned some stuff like, you know, through her upbringing and through her parents, and maybe she learned some things about, you know, decent nutrition, and maybe she does know some stuff, but it's easier when you've just never been fat. And I'm just speculating, but I doubt her parents are fat, and I doubt hardly anybody in that family's fat. They probably eat good, and they probably have good, healthy practices. And so no one ever got behind. But once you get behind, it gets to be very difficult.
Yeah. Power Project Family, we talk about beef and meat all the time on the podcast. That's why we've partnered with Certified Piedmontese Beef. But did you know this? That 85% of all grass-fed, grass-finished beef in the United States is imported from other countries? 85%.
Damn.
But Certified Piedmontese is made in the U.S. of A.
America.
Fuck yeah. So go out and get some of the best tasting, some of the leanest, some of the best beef from Piedmontese. Andrew, how can they get it?
Absolutely. So you guys can head over to cpbeef.com and at checkout enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your entire order. And if your order is $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Again, cpbeef.com. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
Fuck yeah. You know, I think it is a tough thing though, because I think it's not safe to discount people who, let's say they never have been fat. Well, if they're in shape, there's something they're doing to not, like if they're athletes, there's something that they're doing to not get fat. And there's something to pay attention to there. For people who have been fat and then they've dropped, there's something to pay attention there too, because they have the experience of being extremely overweight and then having to get in shape. So you can learn something from there. And from that point, it just comes down to the consumer. Who do they want to learn from? Because it's like you have one individual who, let's say that they are in shape and they've never been crazy out of shape. So what are they doing that keeps them in shape all the time? There's something there. but then this other person, there's something there too. So, I mean, I think that like with this lady, with the girl that we just saw, I think that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to find massive benefit from her, like insane benefit. And I think it's a little, I think it's quite fucked up. Like, I think Atlas Power shrugged his comment. As much as there is some truth there, it's like we shouldn't totally discount somebody who's on the journey and going through the thing and has made great progress and is deadlifting 315 like it's a fucking feather. Right. Like there are so many people who are going to benefit from working with someone like her because of her personal experience. She'll be able to relate to people way better than I could or he could, because we're kind of a little bit, we live this stuff, right? It's a big part of our lives. But for someone like her, maybe she came from a different background and now it's something she's implementing and she's obviously very skilled. Most people don't live this in that way. You know what I mean? They're not obsessed with it.
I think a lot of times these things are like, some things are almost like gifted to us. Like I was just thinking the other day about this, like if you don't overeat and you exercise, if you don't overeat and you move around a bunch, basically, forget exercise for a minute. If you don't overeat and you move around a lot, how much does exercise and nutrition matter in terms of the grand scheme of things, in terms of health? I start to think of like, okay, if I'm thinking of like a pie chart, it's like maybe represents 10 or 15% of a pie chart. Then there's like all these other factors of community, sleep, drugs, all these other health factors. And they're, you know, they're going to take up a chunk of the pie chart as well until you get to 100%. But if you are overweight, then exercise and your food starts to matter more. Your food choices matter more because we know that when you start to make the correct food choices, it can keep you fuller for longer. It can help with your satiety and things like that. And so it's just interesting. But in my opinion, the person that's going to live the longest is the person that probably, they don't even really think about it. They just like, oh yeah, I did that every weekend with my grandpa. I'd hike and then we'd hike and then we'd go fishing and then we'd hike back and it was, 6 miles, or whatever. And they just have a bunch of healthy habit after healthy habit. And you're like, God damn, they just had all these healthy habits intertwined in their life. And my parents told me, we'll just do dessert like once a week. We did it every Friday night and it was a thing. And then, we didn't have any sweets in the house the rest of the week or something. And you're like, man, that sounds incredible to kind of grow up like that. But some people also might think that's a way to grow up being like tortured. But it is a great way for someone to maybe manage their body weight.
And that is the thing, though. It's like for this stuff to feel easy, a lot of this stuff needs to just be habitual. It needs to be just part of your life. It's a passive thing. It's just what you do. Whether you're heavier coming down or you're trying to gain, it's like if you can turn all of these little things, like jujitsu for you at this point, Andrew, it's a habit. It's a fun habit. And it's also a habit that burns a lot of fucking calories. Mark, running for you is something you enjoy. It's a habit that just manages to burn a lot of calories, but you're enjoying yourself while you're out there running with seeing
and then
everything.
We sound like a crazy person.
Right? But they're just habits. And those habits can be anything. But when someone is doing because not everybody likes to train in the gym. And as crazy as it sounds to us, I fucking love lifting. But for the person who hates training, because I've heard some people who are like, I hate the gym. I hate lifting weights. Well, how can we turn resistance training into some type of habit for you? Because it's obviously something your body's going to need. How do we make this shit a habit for you, right? How do we make you like it a little bit?
Yeah, and that's what makes something like the marathon runner, what he was able to accomplish, even more impressive, because he said he trained for that for 15 months.
Right?
I can't think of doing anything outside of what, if we just kind of erase the habits for a second here, man, it would be really hard to get into something new that I would be training for 15 months and be that dedicated to it and be that disciplined. That's incredible what he was able to accomplish. And, if he's not the fastest marathon, I don't care that. Dude, I can't do that. That's super impressive.
It's interesting what your habits are attached to. And I think those are really critical things to think about. If I think about playing video games or something like that, I've always liked video games. I really do. I like them a lot. I never really got that into the more modern games and stuff like that, and I'm grateful for that because it seemed like a real trap.
It's too fun.
Like as soon as the online stuff came around,
Yeah.
and I started getting my ass kicked by like little kids that were talking shit, I was like, I'm out, man. Fuck these kids. I don't know what these fucking kids are doing, but they would kick my ass in Madden. They would always use the fucking Vikings and just run all over the place with Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss. Mm-hmm. And it was just ridiculous. They would do these plays. I'm like, that's not a real play. What the hell's going on? I hit the button or whatever.
It's like a glitch that they figured out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They would figure out glitches too. Those little fucks.
I hated that.
Man.
When NBA 2K went
find a
online,
glitch. Yeah.
They would just be they would pick Derek Fisher and they would shoot the three from half court every time. They never missed. And I'm like, dude, what the, like, how, like, this is, I would lose.
You're cheating, man. Hey, stop it. They'd say, I dare you just try to stop what I'm doing.
Like, it's not cheating if you could stop it. You just can't. Like, dude, no, like, you're beating me 300 to like 4. Like, this is not fair. Like, this is not real.
But anyway, your habit can get attached to like just shitty behaviors in general. Like if you're playing video games, like the odds of you eating chicken breast and rice, while you're sitting there playing the game or in between the game is probably low. Probably grabbing a quick snack that you can kind of eat, maybe as you're still messing around and still playing. And it's just, and you're not moving, right? You're not, so it's like and you're also not outside, you're inside, you're staring at a screen forever, and your eyes just kind of glaze over. You've been like playing this game for 6 hours or 8 hours at a time, and it's like the cartoon, like when the guy's like eyes are all like bloodshot and everything.
Yeah.
From just sitting there kind of playing the games, or you get into just looking at stuff on the internet in general, porn or whatever it might be. You just kind of get stuck in the same rut. And again, even with watching TV, same thing. You're probably just going to be sitting there, especially if it's late at night. You're watching something at 11 o'clock, probably not eating something healthy.
Dude, I do want to rewind and just like, I hate to bring jiu-jitsu into this, but it's going to come in a little bit.
I think that's like 4 shots.
Yeah, 4 shots. Take your 4th shot, guys. But you mentioned something earlier about like would you learn about like cutting an addiction from someone who's never had that addiction? Like, for example, if I was an alcoholic and I was like, fuck, I can't fucking stop this shit. Would I want to learn how to stop drinking from somebody who's never been an alcoholic, or somebody who's like, I don't drink. I just drink a shot, or I just drink one. I wouldn't be able to get what I need from the person who's only able to drink 1 beer, because I drink 9 and I can't stop, right? So there's that. But I also think that there is something good. Again, this just makes it, we got to understand that there's something that we can pick up from everyone, and we shouldn't discount somebody like her just because she's not in shape. Because like in jiu-jitsu, Andrew, like I remember being a blue belt and a purple belt or whatever, I'd always, if a white belt did something pretty cool to me and he was like a wrestler, he just did something interesting, I would ask that white belt, wait, what was that you just did? Because it's like, I haven't seen that. I'm a purple belt. What did you just do? I learned something from someone who has way less experience than me and way less skill than me, right? I'll also ask the black belt, who like, obviously that's where I'm trying to get, but I'm going to also ask them because there's something I can learn there. I think we should, it's the tough thing with fitness, because the fitness thing is something you can see, right? But there are things that you can learn from people, and you shouldn't discount them just because they don't look like the ideal. It'd be kind of foolish to do that. You know what I mean? Because they have a different experience. They're going through a lot of different things, and they might just know something that you don't because you've never had that experience.
Yeah, we've talked about this before with coaches, like, Hani Rambod does not look like a professional on-stage bodybuilder.
No.
Does he need to be? Like, no. At this point, no. Was it helpful in the beginning of his career to be someone that is active with lifting? And of course, right? And then now it matters less and less just because he has the accolades. He's got all the people behind him. Same with like the football coach or this or that. It's like, yeah, it's important. Like, it's kind of cool when your soccer coach, he's yelling at everybody and he's like, yo, okay, guys, listen, you need to kick like this. And they kick the ball and you go, holy shit. I had no idea that my fat little coach could kick the ball like that. Holy crap. Right. They usually show you an example. And then now you're listening. Now you're like, all right, I better really pay attention to him. Like he's super, he definitely knows what he's talking about. It shouldn't necessarily take that all the time for us to learn and for us to for us to like be more open-minded to listening to somebody, but it is kind of how things work. You know, if somebody gets up in front of a room and they're going to talk about strength and they only have, you know, like they're going to talk about strength and they only have, you know, a 300-pound deadlift to show for it or something, you're probably not going to listen to them as much. Even if they tell you about the story of how, you know, they hurt their back the first time they tried to lift 95 pounds.
Yeah.
You're going to look at the person that walks in the room and they look like they can like rip the tires off a bus and they deadlift 800 pounds. You're probably going to be more likely to listen to that person.
Yeah. I feel fucked up because I was just thinking, man, if someone was trying to tell me how to gain muscle and they didn't have much muscle, I'd love to be open.
Dr. Andy Galpin. He's not big. He's not real swole.
Yeah.
He's in shape. He's fit. Talks about muscle all the time, but he's not, you know, he's not 200 pounds. He doesn't look like a bodybuilder. Again, he's fit. He's in shape. But he's a guy that he probably knows more about muscle research than maybe anybody in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to just like discredit him because he doesn't really look the way that you're thinking that someone should look that has that knowledge base.
Blind spots.
Make sense. Yeah.
Blind spots.
Yeah, well, it's because for someone like Andy Galpin, he doesn't put that as high as I'll say I do, right? Like, like, oh shit, if I knew all that information, like I would be so jacked right now. But he's like, no, I'm going to go acquire more information because I'd rather have that than you know, walk on stage or something, right? So it's just he doesn't put it as a high priority. Not that he's out of shape.
He's in great shape. Yeah.
But yeah, he's not, you know,
I think that he feels he acquired enough to get the results that he wants because, you know, having X amount of muscle on you and having X amount of strength can yield these health results, but there's really no reason to go much further beyond that. So I think that's some of his stance on that.
Before we play this beautiful video, so I have another question for you guys. Would you, would you learn from a fat fitness coach? Would you learn to gain muscle from someone who didn't have any muscle or minimal muscle? Like, would you learn to try to gain strength from someone who is not very strong? Just curious about what you guys think about this whole idea, because again, it's interesting.
I think Dr. Phil was married like 6 times.
Oh, really?
5 or 6 times, I think. Yeah,
man,
there's probably something to learn from him about what to do and what not to do.
Hey, with all those divorces, I mean, shit, just tell me what you fucked up. Maybe tell me how you picked them wrong, maybe.
And you would just be like, I didn't do anything wrong.
I just
got it.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, that, and then would you learn from a skinny chef?
Yo,
skinny chef can't be trusted. We already know that.
No, gotta have the wings, bro. Gotta have the wings. That's how you know you're gonna eat good food.
They are very clearly not using enough butter and or sugar. Probably both.
At this point, nasal breathing while you're asleep is no longer something that just us bros do, but people are realizing that it can make a big difference in your sleep quality, your recovery, and all aspects of sleep. That's why hostage tape is so important, because many people have their mouths drop open while they're asleep, they're snoring, and that really affects the quality of their sleep. And that's why many wake up groggy and not feeling extremely rested. Hostage tape will allow you to tape your mouth shut even if you have a beard. Us bearded folks can put the tape on and can be confident enough that when you wake up in the morning, the tape will still be on your mouth, which will help you breathe through your nose. And they also have nose strips if you're someone who struggles breathing through the nose. Those nose strips will help you open up your airway and breathe a little bit easier while you're asleep. How can they get their hands on some hostage tape?
Yeah, you guys can head over to hostagetape.com/powerproject where you guys can receive mouth tape and nose strips for an entire year for less than $1 a night. Again, hostagetape.com/powerproject. Links down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Yeah, I don't remember if we need audio on this one, so we can just show it.
Escalade?
Yeah, from the old N1 mixtape days.
Oh shit.
I mean, dude, he would be impossible to play on the court, dude, because he's just so big.
This man can dunk.
Yeah, I wonder how much he weighed.
He's like 6'8".
He's big. But look at the way he moves.
Footwork, bro. Woo.
He did a double spin.
Yeah. You see, this is the tough thing. It's like he can show his work. I'd want to learn basketball from Escalade.
Could you imagine?
Even though I'm not 6'8".
Damn.
He's got skills, man. That's the thing. I learn from people who can show their work, but then people who can't show their work I'll give him time to like, just so I can understand, okay, do you really know what the fuck you're talking about? And then I'll hear him out. But the people who can, like, for example, Ben Patrick, right? Everybody loves to hate on the stuff that he's doing. Like, or some people love to hate on the stuff he's doing, but this man can sprint, he can dunk, he can move. He has a great transformation story.
If he couldn't dunk, I don't think there's a story.
It'd be harder, right?
I don't think he gets, I don't think he, quote unquote, gets off the ground.
A white man who can dunk is
he dunks, and he dunks well, and he also demonstrates everything really well. He gets into position. I mean, it's obvious that he's strong.
Yeah.
And if he couldn't, I think the two play off of each other. Like, he wouldn't, if he didn't have the strength to dunk the way that he does, he wouldn't be able to get into those positions in the first place. So he gets in these weird compromised positions that most people would really struggle with, and he does so with pretty good weight. And then on top of that, he's able to, like, dunk and do all kinds of other stuff. And so I think it's just, I always found this to be super interesting on like how we acquire information and who we learn from.
Yeah.
I do know when I was powerlifting, it was really important for me. I tried to observe everybody, tried to watch everybody. But I learned quickly too that like Ed Cohn was Ed Cohn, and I wasn't Ed Cohn, and there was still a tremendous amount for me to learn from the guy, and he taught me a lot, and I was always grateful for that. But I had to try to find people that I thought were like more my size. Like, I'd watch videos and I'd be like, oh, okay, that guy looks to be a little bit more my height. Or I'd watch someone do a movement and I'd say, my body doesn't really move that way. Like, I can't deadlift quite the same way that guy does. Thinking of like Jay Cutler or somebody who, when they would deadlift, they would like squat. They would kind of squat their deadlifts up if they was doing like a conventional regular deadlift. And I was like, my body doesn't move quite like that. I don't know if it doesn't take me forever to learn how to figure that out. Let me try to watch some people that have like maybe what I think is like a similar body type.
Yeah.
And then I started to try to study that. And I think you've done something similar with jiu-jitsu, right? You try to you're watching everybody, watching the smaller guys, watching the guys that are quick. Like, holy shit, that's impressive. How'd that guy put that guy in that move so quick? Or that's amazing. But then you want to watch the bigger guys too. You're like, this guy's 280 and he's able to do this. So that means I should be able to do that without a problem because I'm not 280.
The odd thing is like the 280 guys don't move as well as the guys who are middleweights. What you were saying was
so you got to find the
right.
Yeah.
There's that. But then when it comes to something like jiu-jitsu, I actually wanted to emulate the smaller guys. And it's funny because when it comes to lifting, I tried to find people who had a similar body type. Like, for example, deadlifting. I watched a lot of Yuri Belkin, because his technique was just like pristine. He's around 6 feet. He had good mobility, but the way he just wedged himself into a sumo deadlift.
I think what we're talking about is like the ability to mimic. You watched him and you're like, I think I can mimic that. And that's basically what I mean as well.
Yeah, exactly. But like with jiu-jitsu, it's an interesting thing because the smaller guys at the highest levels, typically they have an ability to move and like squirrel, like they just have this really great ability to move. And it's funny because like the guy who like I was copying a lot initially was this guy Julian at our gym because he just moves really well, but he's 170 pounds. So I was like, okay, I can develop a game like a smaller guy, but in a bigger guy's body, that's really dangerous. So I had to kind of take the opposite because generally in jiu-jitsu, the bigger guys don't move as well as the smaller guys. And it's partially because they don't need to. They're stronger, they're bigger, they can get away with more things. But big guys that do move like small guys are annoying as fuck. Like Victor Hugo or Marigali, like they're hard to beat. So,
yeah, same thing with me. Like my buddy Chris, like he's bigger than me. He's taller and he's heavier and he's stronger. But I basically like we're training partners and we work so well together because I'm just trying to mirror everything he's doing. And if he was like a super heavy or something, like if he played a different game, like it just wouldn't work. But I think that's like what's helping me like progress a lot faster is because I can just, if I'm not rolling that certain round, I'm just watching everything he's doing, and then I try to mimic it on the next round.
I think it'd be hard to extract information sometimes from the best of the best. Sometimes the guys that are the best, they see things differently. We've talked about this on the podcast before. I'm sure there would be an insane amount of information to learn from LeBron James, but he's a point guard and he's 6'8". There's only been one other point guard that's 6'8" in the history of the NBA, and his name is Magic Johnson. So it's like you got these two guys who are just anomalies. And if that particular person is going to teach someone how to pass and how to you know, how to get rebounds and stuff like that. Some other people might be kind of lost because they're like, well, I'm not as strong. Like they're going to be missing some of the attributes that these people already naturally have. Not naturally have, they have worked on it and crafted it for a long time. And it's just, it's interesting because I do think there would be a lot to learn from those guys. But also I think that they would have a hard time explaining because they're on a completely different level. Like maybe Magic and LeBron can communicate pretty well, but maybe everybody else after those two leave the room go, what the fuck were they talking about? Like, I'm not really sure, you know, if we know what they were talking about because it's such a high level.
You know, an interesting thing about what you mentioned there, though, it's like LeBron is somebody who, when people have watched his interviews, he can recount a game from 2 weeks ago and tell you literally every play. Like he's done this in multiple interviews, and multiple players that talk about him are like his recollection of the game and the way he's able to tell you what you did. Like when he's on the court with other teams, he knows the plays they're going to do. And there's been so many interviews where the other players are like, yeah, LeBron called that play. He knows all of our plays. So the thing is LeBron has all these attributes, but I do think people tend to see someone like a LeBron or someone that has a lot of attributes, right? There's a lot of attributes, but they discount what they know because they're like, they just got it. They're just talented. So they discount that, even though this person actually has a lot, they've worked a lot, they actually have it a lot here, but we kind of just say, that's LeBron. That's what a lot of people do. And it's like that. I think that's another blind spot because when someone is so good at something, we distance ourselves so much from that where we're just like, there's no way in hell I'll be able to take anything from that.
Yeah, he was gifted. He was born with it.
He was born with it.
He would also be good at jiu-jitsu. Take another shot.
Let me take a shot of this fucking mind bullet.
Yeah, it's
blind spots, bro. There's blind spots and all that shit.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And again, I think the most important thing is to try to think, what is the person saying?
Yes.
You know, what's the person saying, and how do I move forward with this information? That information that was put forward by that woman who was a female lifter, that's like a little on the heavier side. You know, I think, is what she's saying, like, does it make sense? Does it stack up to like beliefs and things like that you have? And I think that's where you can kind of think to yourself, does this kind of match some of my beliefs? It doesn't, you don't always want to just match things up with just the way something looks, but I think you do need to match stuff up with how something looks in addition to what the person's saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to do a little bit of both. Andrew, bring up this this song. I think this should be our new theme song, the opener for the Power Project.
The opener. All right, let me find
celebration of being back on YouTube.
Welcome us back, and this is what we're gonna give you. This is pretty epic, though.
Look at those glasses.
Yeah.
I lost my penis in an ice bath.
That's a jam.
For 15 minutes, I had no shower. I lost my pecker in a cold plunge. I had 2 balls, now I have none. Misplaced my willy in a cold pool. Got 10 bags of ice trying to act so cool. Now I'm playing with Molly with my doodle-doodle-doodle-doo. But I don't care because my body is recovering faster than you. Ice bath, hands up if you got an ice bath. Trapped in an ice bath, a couple of boys living in an ice bath.
Ice bath, ice bath.
Hands up if you got an ice bath. No shot in an ice bath.
No shot.
Boys sitting in an ice bath.
That's
a jam.
Actually, I'm curious now.
I don't care because I'm recovering faster than you.
What happens to your balls when you guys go into cold plunges since you're on TRT?
Oh, yeah. Disappears completely, pretty much.
Really? Like they get smaller than they already are?
Yeah.
I haven't paid much attention just because everything's so small. I'm trying not to look.
You don't need a fucking like. You're just your balls,
dude. But then, so
does your dick just hide your balls anyway because of how fucking?
No,
huge
but here's the fun. We can actually talk about this now because we have a show again.
All right.
But the Gil Headley stuff about like foreskin and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, dude, when that thing retracts, it really does turn into the fucking anteater. Like, there's a lot of skin over where the penis used to be because I'm so shriveled.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
wouldn't
there's
have
like
expected
extra
that.
at that point. Yeah.
So it's not that your skin retracts. Your skin just stay hanging, but your dick goes deeper into this.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so when it gets erect, it goes out of the skin.
My wife grabbed my dick today when I got out of the cold plunge.
She did?
Insult to injury.
She goes, that thing's fucking freezing. I was like, yeah, you should let me put it inside you, see what happens. She's like, no, I'll be like fucking a dead person. It's good payback because her hands and feet are always fucking cold. So I'll get her with the cold willy.
Dog, I feel so ashamed when I get out of the cold plunge and Sam sees me. I just like try to just cover myself because she can't look at me like that. That shit.
Every time you see yourself like that, you're like, I gotta shave my pubes.
Yeah, bro.
So you can see this thing a little bit better. This is like not going so good.
Yeah, you gotta do something with that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But Carnivore Aurelius has some different words about cold plunging.
He doesn't like it either because it makes your dick too small.
I think he dislikes it for a few different reasons. Dislikes it for a few different reasons.
So you feel like you're gonna die when you're in there.
That's how I feel.
Let's see.
Let's see what we got.
Cold plunging daily is one of the dumbest things you can do, especially if you're already stressed and have low thyroid, like most people today. Sure, do it every now and then, but it's not the panacea it's made out to be. Cold plunging is the most stressful thing you could do to yourself. Your body doesn't know you're in a nice Los Angeles studio cold plunging. It thinks you're on the Titanic, sinking. In nature, falling in cold meant you were going to die. As a result, it massively spikes adrenaline and all of your stress hormones. Right when you get out of a cold plunge, it feels amazing. Just like how surviving a plane crash would. You thought you'd die, and then you didn't. Most people today are already overly stressed and low body temperature from low thyroid function. Our body temp needs to be around 98.6 for optimal function. The last thing they need is more cold. If this is you, you're basically just aging yourself faster for a mood boost. Don't blindly hop on this bandwagon just because it's sexy.
Don't blindly do anything. Don't blindly do anything. Always question the knowledge. I think that's important. But overly stressed, he's wrong because like we exercise all the time. We lift, we do all these things, right? These are stressors.
And when we first did it,
yeah, it was stressful.
It was pretty fucking stressful.
And like hurts, But over time, you get used to it and then you learn what's appropriate. And I agree with some of what he's saying. Maybe just doing it every day isn't a great idea. Maybe thinking that the cold plunge is going to like solve all your problems isn't a great idea. But people need to work on their stress management. It's the number one thing that people need to work on. And need to work on it through their brain. And they're not. People just aren't. They don't think about it. People are thinking about making more money, having more muscle, having less body fat. And they just put those things on fucking repeat. That's all people are mainly kind of consumed with. And they're not thinking about how can I mitigate stress in my life? How do I stuff these stressors that are coming at me? How do I take them on? How do I just take them on, just straight up? How do I take them on? How do I allow them not to have a negative impact on me? And the number one way you can do that is to start work on reinterpretation, how you interpret the different things that are coming at you in a given day. But it's easier to have reinterpretation when you do things that are difficult and you do things that are hard. You put yourself in a compromising position kind of on purpose. They're sort of made up. Like we're not that compromised anymore. And hopefully, in the lives that most of the people live, hopefully they're not actually in harm's way. And hopefully they're not actually in something that's that bad.
Yeah.
But hopefully they also have an opportunity to go to jiu-jitsu, take a shot, and end up underneath someone that weighs 250 pounds. 256.
Hurts.
And, has their knee on you or is just trying to toy with you because they're having a great time. You put yourself in these compromising positions so that you are trying to expose yourself to these types of stressors. But you're also trying to keep yourself ahead and you're trying to stay ahead of the curve and you're trying to stay ahead of your work, stay ahead of. It's really easy to be super stressed if you're behind. Yeah. You leave the house and you're going to lift and you forgot your gym bag. You don't have half the stuff that you need with you. And you're like, fuck. Then you go and you train. The training session wasn't as good as because you didn't have your belt and your pre-workout and your wrist wraps or whatever it was that you needed. And then you're off to work. You didn't make enough time to take a shower, so you're kind of grumpy and gross at work the whole time. And you're a little bit behind on work and just everything just kind of going that way. What if one day you decide to be an adult? You decide to be more mature. And you're like, I'm going to get up a little bit earlier. I'm going to take a shower. And at the end of the shower, I'm just going to try what Wim Hof says. And I'm going to do 30 seconds or a minute of cold. I just want to see what it does. You do that, off to the gym. It's like you had 5 cups of coffee. You have a better workout. And maybe it starts to set yourself in motion where you start to learn to stay ahead all the time. So I think cold therapy is amazing. I think that most of the people that talk about it, they don't have any idea what they're talking about. The effectiveness of cold therapy is unbelievable. And I think that the cold plunge and plunging yourself into a tub is one thing, but there's so many other ways that you can get cold therapy. You can simply go outside. If it's under 55 degrees, you're good. Spend a couple minutes out there. Try to walk in a tank top, do some, whatever is like appropriate. Somebody was like, I'm going to get frostbite if I go out. I'm in Idaho. Well, don't, that's a little too much, find something that's more appropriate, but the cold can help with a lot of things, and depression is one of them. So I think people need to get on board with it and really just experience it. Don't just listen to what people are saying about it.
You've been getting great sleep. You've been handling your nutrition. You've been working out in the gym. You may have been running and doing all the things that you believe are helping you get in better health, but you haven't gotten your blood work done. That's why we partner with Merrick Health, because you could be doing all these things, but underneath the hood, there might be some deficiency or something small that could be the thing that moves you in the right direction. And without understanding what that is and how to change it with your nutrition or your supplementation, then you might just be spinning your wheels. So get your blood work done with Merrick Health. Work with one of their patient care coordinators so that they can give you the ideas of what you may need to optimize in terms of your supplementation or your nutrition or potentially hormone optimization. And they can help you move in the right direction by helping you from the inside out. Andrew, how can they do it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to merrickhealth.com/power project. That's MEREKhealth.com/power project. And at checkout, enter promo code Power Project to save 10% off the Power Project panel, the Power Project checkup panel, or any individual lab that you select on their entire website. Again, merrickhealth.com/power project. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
I agree with him where he says, you don't jump on the bandwagon too quickly. Because if you're someone who does have some thyroid issues, or let's just say your recovery is kind of shitty, you don't get much sleep, and now you add another stressor on top and you're trying to go ham on that stress, probably won't do you much good initially. But we are pretty strong as humans. We can adapt to a lot of things. And to think that, oh my God, going into a cold plunge is dangerous for you if you do it, with the amount of people that can do it and do have benefit, I think it's I don't think it's very intelligent to say, just blanket it as being something that's bad for you, because some people have a bad experience and many people are having amazing experiences with it. It just means that maybe you need to start off a little bit slower. So if you don't have a cold plunge, can you just take a cold shower a few days a week and see how you feel with that? See how long you can maybe do that. Start with 30 seconds and maybe bump it up to a minute, 90 seconds, etc. Because you'll probably be able to adapt to that pretty good. And then it'll probably end up not being that much of a stressor. Because I remember when I first started cold plunging, shit was hard. It was really hard to get in there. When I came out, I felt good, but I was still shivering. I'd come here, I'd still be shivering. And now when I do it, I can go in, I can come out, I'm a little bit cold, but I come here, I still feel great, I'm good. I'm not shivering all the time, you know what I mean? Because I've adapted to that stress. So just because it's a stress doesn't mean you should avoid it altogether, because people don't avoid hard training. They gradually increase their training volume. They gradually increase their training frequency. And then they can train 5-6 days a week and it doesn't fuck them up. But if you go off the deep end too soon, you get fucked up and then you're like, hard training's bad for me. That's kind of what he did with this cold plunge video. It's odd because he has a lot of good content, but this is just again, it's weird. Why avoid a stress that you can get better dealing with?
Carnivore Aurelius has an amazing page. I suggest everybody go follow the guy. He's got incredible information, and usually it's maybe information that hasn't been gobbled up by the mainstream just yet. And cold plunging, I don't know, people might think that it's been gobbled up by the mainstream, but What's the cure? You know, what's the cure for having really, really cold hands? Have you guys ever heard about that?
No.
I know it from you.
Yeah. So if your hands are really cold,
You just go out and get colder.
yeah, you get colder. Put your hands in, like if you typically have cold hands, supposedly, this is from Wim Hof, you put your hands in ice water for 3 minutes and you work on it. Maybe you can't do 3 minutes right away. Maybe it's too crazy for you.
Mm-hmm.
You work on it over time. Why are you working on it? To help regulate your body temperature. Your hands shouldn't be cold. That's not normal. Why are your hands cold? Why do you have this abnormality? Barely could say that word. It's because you're not able to regulate your body temperature. Why aren't people able to regulate their body temperature? Because people spend 90% of their time inside. Get the fuck outside.
Mm-hmm.
Expose yourself to the cold. You're supposed to be cold every once in a while. What do you think our ancestors did when it was cold? They were just cold. They couldn't keep making decisions to like be warmer. They just like were cold and they're like, fuck, man, I guess we got to snuggle up and get close to each other. They didn't have nearly as many options as we have now to just, you know, stay inside. But regulating your body temperature is an important skill that your body needs to have. And if people have messed up thyroid, it's because they're not exposing themselves to the cold. And they're not exposing themselves probably to the heat. They're probably not getting out in the sun. There's probably a long list of things. All these things would beat the shit out of T3 and T4. These are thyroid hormones. But getting into cold, getting some sunlight, these things would probably be more beneficial. There's so many women with Hashimoto's disease. There's so many people that have poor functioning thyroid. And a lot of times your thyroid is something that helps your body to regulate some of the temperature that you have. And you have to figure out a way to regulate that. You shouldn't, everyone can feel different. Like everybody is a little different, but in the grand scheme of things, you should be able to regulate your own body temperature pretty well.
I'm just remembering the first time that I did like a cold shower, like at the end of a regular shower and I turned it cold. Mm-hmm. This was like before 2019, but I got really sick. It was just a coincidence. That's what I'm going to say. But I got like the worst cold ever right after that. So I was just like, dude, this cold therapy, I'm never doing it again. And then now, like, yeah, it's still really, really hard for me to get in the damn cold plunge.
Okay.
But what he said about yeah, if we got cold, that meant we were going to die or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's dramatic. But then I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, that's actually a really good promotion to do it because you're not going to die, but you're going to experience something difficult that your body's going to be like, holy shit, bro, like we made it. Like,
it's
sick.
how people survived.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, we do something similar if we get under a heavy squat and we're like, oh, fuck, how am I going to stand up? I got all this weight on me.
It's going to kill me.
And then you do it and you're so fired up and now you feel like you can, you know, conquer the world or whatever. It's like, man, all right, actually, yeah, that's actually more of a good promotion to jump in the cold water if that's what it's going to mimic. Like that shit. All right, thanks for that one.
Again, he does have a point. Be careful. Right? Don't jump off the deep end going in fucking 40-degree water trying to stay in there for 5 minutes if you've never done it before. Adapt to it. Yeah. But like, we can adapt to stress. We are humans. This is what we're meant to do. Mm-hmm. And to just totally avoid a stress because it's uncomfortable, it's like, that seems, again, anti what this guy is typically about. Mm-hmm. When you see all like he's sunning his asshole and doing all this other shit, like, He does a lot of pretty interesting and some good shit. So it's like it's odd. It's an odd take.
Again, you can get cold therapy a bunch of different ways. You can roll your windows down in your car. Mm-hmm. These are there's small things that you can just try. And if you think about what's the worst way to expose yourself to cold? The worst way to expose yourself to cold is to jump into really cold water. Like that's the worst way, you know, because it's the most extreme. Mm-hmm. It's the toughest way. But it's also like kind of in some weird way, it's also the easiest way. Like I was debating the other day whether do I walk outside and just deal with the wind and the rain and walk around like a crazy person in my front yard, or do I just go in the cold plunge? The cold plunge is actually easier because walking around outside when it's fucking windy and cold sucks a little bit worse. But just expose yourself to it whatever way you can and do whatever amount of time that you can. If you can only do 30 seconds of changing the temperature in the shower, then that's great. My wife has been messing around with the cold plunge, but she can't do it unless she like already worked out. So for her, she has to have her body temperature like up already. I know you're not supposed to do it after you lift or whatever, but I think, hey, if she can get herself exposed to it, that's great.
Yeah. How about when you guys get into the hot and then into the cold? Like, I've never experienced that one. What's that like?
Yeah, it helps a lot. I mean, if you can get into either a sauna or just come out of a hot shower, the hard thing out of the shower is like you got to immediately get to the cold. If there's any like time in between, you know, you start to kind of lose that body temperature, but it's way easier.
Gives you a buffer.
It's way easier. Yeah, it feels it's way more comfortable. So maybe you could pop out of the shower and like, you know, put a robe on or put a towel around you and scoot yourself out to the cold plunge and try to jump in there at that time. But yeah, you get your skin kind of like pinkish a little bit. Maybe not for you.
No, seriously, it actually does. Oh. Yeah. Fucking, no, I'm joking. But it actually, it does. It does. That's one thing I was surprised about. Like, it still gets like, my chest gets a bit pink and shit. So
reddish and stuff.
Happens to black people too, man.
Yeah, I remember when
we can change colors, Mark.
That's a little scary.
It's not just special for you.
We had the cold plunge.
I heard a good Michael Jackson joke.
Oh, no.
Oh, go for it.
Good thing we're not live.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald was on a show and he said, Michael Jackson's having a kid. And the guy was like, oh, really? He goes, yeah. And he said, if it's, he goes, oh, yeah, what, he said, he's going to name it. And he's like, he said, if it was a girl, that he wanted it to be a boy. And then the guy's like, okay. And he goes, and if he had a boy, he'd have sex with him.
Oh,
no.
That was pretty lethal.
Oh, did you ever watch the doc, whatever, Neverland or whatever?
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch it because it's just,
it's rough.
Yo.
I thought that was pretty ballsy of a joke, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yo.
Yeah. You got to go there sometimes, you know? I don't
Once in a while.
I'll still bump NJ every now and then. It's too good.
Hell yeah, he's great.
I do that. I still listen to R. Kelly. I
listen
to a lot of evil children. Yeah, apparently. But he's got jams.
Separate the artist from their actions.
Yeah, as best you can.
Maybe Nsima can go in the cold plunge with you, Andrew, help you out.
We could cold plunge together.
Like
you on one side, me on the other side, or we're on the same side.
That's what I was thinking. I was wondering, like, if you said buffer, which is a fun choice of words, but like
if you're on the same side, it might be kind of weird. It's like one person might be kind of halfway out of the water a little bit.
Andrew can sit on top of me.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll sit on top of Andrew.
No, I don't know, because then I might drown.
And I just don't move. I make you stay in there longer.
Oh, God. That's terrifying, actually, to think about that. Like the lid that's on there, like if it just closed on you and you just can't get out, you can breathe just fine, but you're just never getting out.
Yeah, that is.
I wouldn't even try that kidding around. I hate shit like that.
Yeah.
All right. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, then check out this episode where we talk about proven principles for faster muscle gain. Now, muscle gain takes time, but you can improve it and you can speed some things up if you do some of the things we talked about in this video. So you're trying to get bigger, click this one right here. Click it.